What is up, everybody? On a Friday afternoon, I drove down to the Columbus, Ohio area. A friend that I had met through Bikes and YouTube needed a job done down that way, but he's over in Southern California, so he hired me to go do it. I went and did the job, and then I decided to spend the night. I booked a hip camp. It was just behind some McMansion in Hilliard, Ohio, and it was only $20. This is me setting up my new Coleman car camping tent. I might talk about this in a future video if I think it's worth it. Anyways, first time using it. It feels like a mansion compared to my old one. I went out and had dinner with Pudgy Pedal Pusher. If you're a long-time follower of the channel, I'm sure you know Ben. And then in the morning, I got up and I was going to meet Dylan and Aaron to do some mountain biking. We were heading to the Alum Creek Trails. I had never been there. And so this first loop here is a beginner loop. It had rained a little bit overnight. So the trails here, we weren't leaving any marks in, but they were slick. And it definitely made it slow going. We had to be a little cautious up here, especially any kind of roots that are in this trail system. I don't know if any different tires would matter at all, but definitely my tires were very, very slick on them. The beginner loop has these wide bridges, which aren't too bad to cross, but later in this video, you'll see like some of the more narrow ones on the more advanced parts of the trails sketched me out a little bit. This is a little skills course they have here too. Did a couple laps on this, kind of like a pump track, and some of these little features that you can ride around on. Skip that bigger bank with it being pretty damp. These trails are maintained by Combo, Central Ohio Mountain Bike Organization. And this first section here, people call it P1 for Phase 1, I think was built in the mid-90s, so it's an old school trail. There are a decent amount of routes, but it's not non-stop. What Dylan and Aaron were telling me is once you get the hang of it, you could really find some flow at this trail. With it being a little damp and like off-camber wet routes, I had a hard time finding a lot of flow. So this is definitely a spot I want to go back to and try when it's completely dry. I was asking them if it was okay that we were out on these trails with it being wet, and they said we were right on the border. So what we ended up doing is just walking some sections that we were afraid we'd leave tracks in and damage. They were saying that the Phase 2 part that we ride later would be much more dry, and it was. We didn't feel bad at all about riding there. So yeah, right on the line here. Maybe, I think if we could have done it again, we wouldn't have gone out on maybe this first phase on this day. But again, like I said, we just tried to be cautious, and if it was going to be leaving tracks, we just kind of hopped off and were careful. After riding P1, we headed along Alum Creek and then over some snowmobile trails that were really fun to ride to connect to where Phase 2 is, P2 as they say. I also realized that my cranks were a little loose. My compression ring wasn't tight, and these guys helped me fix it, thank God. But yeah, these snowmobile trails were really fun. But the thing that they're actually doing is eventually, and they're already working on it, they're going to connect both phases with more single track. So I think there'll be 30 miles of single track here, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong if you're from the area. I always get these weird comments on my videos about Northeast Ohio being flat. Northeast Ohio is not flat at all. It's not flat anywhere, except if you are maybe on the canal towpath. But Central Ohio has a earned reputation for being generally flat. But on this day, even with doing the snowmobile trails here, I think my ride was 22 miles and 1,400 feet of elevation. So not insane, but for what is actually the flat part of the state, you could still get some pretty good climbing and genuinely good mountain bike trails. If you're wondering why Dylan was pedaling like that, he was riding a single speed. So worked out great for the trails, but he had to really have a high cadence to ride on the roads.
Like,
Yeah, Holmes is pretty tasty beer.
oh yeah, the food's good too.
So we had a little snack stop before jumping out on P2. I have to say, again, that I was super impressed. So this trail has been slightly rebuilt over time. A tornado hit it, and when they came back in, they made it a little smoother with more machine-built trails. So the first phase has a lot of routes. It's not nonstop, but it's pretty rooty. Here, the routes almost serve as more like features, almost like rock gardens. It's like, I don't know, root gardens are one big route that you'd have to get over and up. So it made it interesting. I enjoyed it. And like I said, I had a few things going against me on this day. One, just where the routes could be a little slick, even though these trails are pretty rideable. And two, it was super humid, and I had wiped my forehead a couple times. And maybe it's the first time I've ridden with these wolf tooth grips when it's been hot out. But man, I could not keep my hands on the bars. They were sliding everywhere, so it was kind of sketching me out on the downhills. The third thing I had going is when I walked out the door to head to Columbus, I was talking on the phone to Aaron, and I forgot to grab my last little round of stuff, so I didn't have my shoes that I normally be riding in. So I do ride flat pedals, but all I had on was slip-ons, and definitely not ideal for mountain biking. So yeah, again, I would love to come back to this and try it again, but there are still, even beyond that, some parts of this that are so steep and some cool wood features and all that stuff that I would still find challenging. And there's a lot of bypasses on this trail, so there's definitely stuff that I would still be bypassing even if all the things had aligned to make this, one of my better days. And there's a lot of those cool little log features and stuff like that along this too that are rideable, but yeah, this is not a beginner trail at all. It's impressive. I just didn't realize there would be such a good mountain bike trail in central Ohio. Since Dylan and Aaron are so familiar with the trails and just better mountain bikers than me by far, I got a little behind, and I would sometimes get a little behind. But in that spot, I actually made a wrong turn down an access road and lost them. Ended up going backwards down a different part of the trail, and we had a confusing conversation on the phone about where I was until they finally came along and found me, and then I was back on track with them. I would definitely recommend checking out these trails if you're in the central Ohio area, if you're going down to Columbus for something, or if you live there and haven't yet. I think it's probably about 20-25 minutes north of the city to get to Alum Creek. And I think there's also camping, and then there's all kinds of recreation on the big lake and stuff like that as well. So there's probably more to look into. It was just, we went out and did these trails and spent the morning and early afternoon, and then I was actually heading back home after this. So yeah, huge thanks to Aaron and Dylan for showing me around. Had a really good day. A couple steel mountain bike rigid boys out on the mountain bike trails, and nobody there to give us negative comments about it. So thanks as always for watching. If you enjoy this kind of content, consider becoming a channel member, but at the least hit that thumbs up button. That helps out a little bit too. I appreciate all you. I will see you in the next video. Peace.